Welcome to this week's edition of the Casual Shooters Podcast. Another exciting edition, I might say. Your premier podcast for the casual shooter. All right, this week's guest is actually two guests. They've both been on here before individually. They're from the same area. They live in close proximity. They both shoot open. They are both, well, not just open, but limited optics, primarily open. And they both shoot for Atlas. So join me in welcoming David Wampler and Kevin Gorospe back to the show. How you doing?
We're doing good, man. How you been?
Good, good. You guys been busy?
Oh yeah, very busy. Nice to be home after SHOT Show.
Oh, it's been an experience.
Always is.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
You guys survive without any diseases?
Yes. I was actually talking to Dave about it. Like
Yeah.
all these people always say, "Oh, SHOT Show crud," or whatever. And I know a couple people that got sick after SHOT Show and stuff like that. But last 2 years, no issue. Never. I don't usually get sick a lot in general. So I don't know.
Me either.
I don't know.
Dave,
That's pretty funny, Kev, because I feel like you're always sick. You know how many times we've gone to
comes out.
work? Yeah. No, you're a professional pickleball player at work.
Yes, professional pickleball player. Finals my side gig.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, that's funny.
No, I swear, dude. Though, you know how many matches we've gone to, and you're just like, I'm just trying to get over this. I'm just like, oh my gosh.
I don't know. Maybe,
I don't know, dude. You got two young kids, so I mean, you can't get away from it. That's what it's all about. But
Right.
but no, I didn't have no sick or anything as far as coming back. I've been very, very, very fortunate. So
Okay.
both Kevin and I feel like is a huge win or a huge plus in the plus category as far as not being sick.
Yeah.
Or not catching anything.
All right, we're going to get into that a little bit more here in a minute. It's been a while since you guys have been on. And actually, Dave, the last time you were on, if you remember, Huggy shot Leo in the face with his cool fire cannon.
He did. I remember that.
Since then, they've both abandoned me. I think the trauma was too much for Leo and the humiliation too much for Huggy. They both left the show. But in honor of old time's sake, I think we should replay it. So, Kevin, I don't know if you've seen this.
I haven't.
Oh, I see what he's saying now. And I'm like, oh, and I'm like, okay, that wall. And then,
are you okay, Leo? I know it's not loaded, and I know he's not going to shoot me, but he's literally pointing there at my image right now, and it's freaking me out, man.
I know you're like, well, for me, where are you at? You're like,
oh,
that is hilarious.
Oh, that never gets old. I love that. Oh my gosh, that's hysterical. All right. Now, like I was saying, it's been a while. I had it written down here because it's been a while. I was like, exactly how long has it been? So, Kevin, your episode aired April 5th of 2021. And David, yours aired February 2nd of 2021. So we just had our 3-year anniversary.
oh wow.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's been a bit. Now, when you guys were on, I don't believe we had started the icebreaker questions. So
I think we did. I think it was like favorite
We did.
movie or something along those lines.
oh, okay.
Yeah,
We did.
you
All
were
right.
a historical character, I think, and I told you I'm
Yeah.
not a historical guy.
All right. Now, when you guys were on before, David, you were doing some training. Kevin, I can't remember. Kevin, you were working at your side
Shooting
gig at the
Sports.
yeah.
Yeah,
and-
I believe I'm still working there.
Yep, you were. But since then, you guys have. How did you guys get together and start the GW collaboration?
Well, honestly, I think it was so. I mean, obviously, Kevin and I, being teammates with Atlas and everything, our relationship has grown quite. We've grown quite close.
Flourished, if you will.
Some might even say we've shared a bed or two.
Shared a bed or 2 or 3.
3 separate times. There's only
3
King does
separate
go.
occasions.
Goodness
Keep
gracious.
coming back
Oh,
from
boy.
Star.
Yeah.
This is how rumors get started, but they're not rumors.
They're not rumors.
Some people
Tell
say
the
they're
truth.
jealous.
Right.
I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
No, but we so I mean through our friendship and just through our competitive nature, and we've shot a lot together for quite a while, and we've traveled quite a bit, and we've gone to multiple, like we've been to, I don't know, what was it, 3 nationals as far as USPSA nationals together. When did we start going to USPSA nationals? 2019.
19.
Yeah.
19.
Because I think the first one we went to was St. George, Utah.
Yeah, which was awesome.
Oh yeah, that was a great match. So then after that, we kind of, obviously we both have had our LLCs, and we both have been doing our own private training, stuff like that. And I mean, we've had quite a bit of interest of guys asking us like, hey, you guys, like, you guys work well together. You guys bring your own flavors of training to certain situations and whatnot. It'd be interesting to see what we could do as like kind of as a group collab effort. And that's kind of where we spawned the GW collab. But we also kind of, at the same time, and I'll let Kevin talk to this a little bit more, but we kind of found we like being in a team aspect and kind of having a team aspect, if that makes sense. And there's been a lot of shooting teams. There still are quite a few shooting teams out there. But we felt like, as far as a shooting team goes in our area, it was kind of cool for us to be able to kind of form our own thing. And then we have the full control over how we want to go about, I guess, inviting people to the team, and how we want to go about, like, as far as making requirements. And then at the same time, it's not just so much anybody gets on. You have to mesh well, and we hold our shooters to a certain standard. But it's something that is kind of grown, and we've kind of, if you want to talk more about it, Kev, jump in. But
no, it's you got it. Like we learned early on, like this sport is awesome. Dave and I are very competitive by nature, but like for the majority of the community that we have in shooting sports in general, like they're there for the community, right? For the fellowship with everybody. So we learned that early on, like building it. We wanted to have like a cool group of dudes, girls too, whatever. But cool group of people who just wanted 2024, damn, it gotta be PC. No, but just wanted a cool group of people that wanted to get together and represent one flag, so to speak. And I think we collectively grabbed some really great guys to represent us. We're really blessed by that. We're really honored by their willingness to kind of hold our flag, hold our logo on their shirts, and just being able to build that family community around some of these guys has been really awesome. So yeah.
Okay. Now, were both of you guys already shooting for Atlas when you collaborated?
Yeah.
Dave?
Well,
Yeah.
so our friendship started before, like, so I've always been shooting, as far as I think our friendship goes. I've always shot for Atlas.
Yeah.
As far as Kevin goes, I mean, I think we were.
So
I
think you started shooting. Well, yeah, you started shooting for Atlas in like what, 2017?
2017, yeah, beginning of 2017.
Yeah, beginning of 2017. I think I started shooting for Atlas after 2019, because I don't think I was a part of the team yet by the time we went to the 2019 nationals. I might yeah, no, I don't think so. Well, maybe I had
No,
just
no.
joined.
You may
I
have
had
just
just
joined.
joined.
We didn't have any
Yeah.
jerseys or anything. I was just shooting in my
Yeah.
LLC shirt.
Yeah. So I think I had just joined Dave, because I had just left PT, and I was shooting with. Remember, that was the year I wore my Elite Shooting Sports jerseys. So
Oh, that's right. Yep.
so
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, what? So together, when you guys teach, what kind of classes are you offering people?
So this year, so years past, we've done really it's just been a advanced competition course. Hasn't really been a fundamentals. I mean, all of our stuff is based very heavily in fundamentals, but when we teach a class, it's typically going to be an intermediate class. Now, this year we're kind of revamping. We're going to be teaching a kind of a spectrum of classes. We're going to our next class that's coming up. I'd have to look up the date, but it's going to be a red dot class. Um, Not just a competition class. It's going to be a practical shooting, a well-rounded practical shooting class, but it will be geared towards um, really facilitating practical shooting to red dots. So it's not going to be something that deters people that or whether they're competition shooters or tactical shooters or wherever they want to place their allegiance to, so to speak, in the whole shooting community. This class is going to be a class that is going to kind of bridge the gap between, I would say, the competition realm and the tac timmies.
Yeah.
Oh,
I
okay,
mean,
so
at
you
the
expect to
end of
have
the day, shooting. So
Yeah, exactly. So we'll have a red dot class, and then eventually we still want to do a competition course. But it's instead of it being like an intermediate competition course, it'll probably be we still got to come up with a name, but it'll be more of a fundamentals course. But it's going to be a minimum of 2 days, and it's going to because we've just found that even in our 1 day course, there's so much material that Kev and I both want to go over that we feel that it'd probably be best to turn it into a 2 day event to make sure that we're covering the ground that we want to cover to make sure we're doing justice to our students and clients.
that makes sense. You don't want to jam so much stuff in there that they get just a little bit of each topic, you know?
Yeah, and I mean when it's the two of us, we both like we always start off the day with like fundamental stuff, but then we kind of do a divide and conquer type of deal, which is like Kevin will teach a section of what he teaches, I'll teach a section of what I teach, and then we'll flip flop. And there's just to be able to do the flip flop. We find that there's we always like we cover a lot of topics, but there's so many topics out there that Kevin and I are both are like, man, I wish we could have gotten to this, or like, I wish I could have gotten to this. And Kevin's like, yeah, I wish I could have covered this additional thing. And we find that like at this point, we're just like, you know what? Why smash it into 1 day when we can do it in 2 days? And then it'll be more of a full weekend event. And we can really cover all the ground, really get the rounds down range. And then also this way, the students and the clients like get the full experience, so to speak. So.
yeah, and really, like at the end of the day, drills are great, but it's the repetitions that really matter, right?
Yes.
So like if you were to do like build drills, like whatever drill you want to call it, like cool, you get like 30 minutes and you do 3 or 4 build drills. But if you're not accustomed to doing build drills and you're not 100% aware of what you're supposed to be focusing on, there's almost no way you're really going to understand a build drill with doing it 3 times. So just the high repetition is really what we're after. Some people I feel like some people like it, some people don't. Most of the people that don't like it, it's because it's really high round count. But at the end of the day, that's kind of what we're trying to teach, right? It's like learning your gun, learning the timing of your dot, of your iron sights, whatever you're doing. Shooting is shooting, but at the end of the day, it's all about repetition.
So now you've been primarily teaching competitors, and I would expect that they would expect to be shooting a little bit more. Hopefully they handle their gun more than most, and so they're more accustomed to a longer day with more shooting or at least more gun handling. When you open it up to other folks, do you think they'll be in the same boat? Like they're going to be used to shooting high round count days, or do you think that might be a challenge?
So I think when we launch our red dot class, it's going to be a 1 day class, right, Dave?
Yeah.
It's going to be 1 day class, and that class is going to be more the fundamentals of a red dot. So we're going to take a brand new shooter, not necessarily a brand new shooter, but somebody who's not accustomed to red dots, and kind of go through that whole explain all the little nitty gritty about everything, right?
Even if you are a customer of red dots, this is just going to be something that's going to help you even further. But yeah, continue, Ken.
Yeah, but when we teach our competition class, the expectations and the expectation is just going to be a little bit higher. So I feel like what you're saying, Dave, is, having newer shooters experience more advanced skill set. Um, that's kind of where it divides, right? The red dot class would be more for like the newer style shooter, whereas our competition course will have some higher prerequisites, higher expectation.
Yep.
But,
Yeah, and I mean, as far as like let's say to bridge that gap and for like for the addressing like kind of like the red dot class and stuff like that. Yeah, we'll have some sort of prereqs as far and the prereq is basically just going to be some safety parameters and stuff along those lines to make sure that we're not like we get guys that or ladies that know how to safely draw or safely point the gun in the appropriate direction. No basic gun handling like safety, if that makes sense. We just don't like obviously we don't want to be out there taking time from everybody else to teach somebody how like the raw fundamentals of shooting a gun. For instance, like if someone's never shot a gun before, like we want to make sure that everyone else that has been there understands that the full, I guess how I want to put it, the full parameters of there's so much material to cover. We only have so much time to do what we got to do, so we want to make sure that we're covering the bases that we need to cover in order to get everyone fulfilled, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So if someone signs up for your intermediate class,
Mhm.
how do you vet that they know these skills ahead of time?
So for what I have done in my classes, and then Kevin and I, we've dealt with this before because sometimes people are just going to tell you, sure, like I've had people tell me like, oh yeah, I've gone to 2 or 3 competitions, and then like when they get to class, it's pretty clear that they haven't come to any competitions, and they're
Right.
real green. And come to find out, they've just gone and watched a competition, and like they've never actually participated or done anything along those lines. So people are going to tell you what they want to get into class or however it is. I mean, there's a certain degree of people that you're just going to have to work with to a certain extent. But it's easy. Like if I put my classes on practice score, or we put our classes on practice score, then like obviously in the descriptions, like you can during registration, there's a whole drop down paragraph menu where you can request a kind of a shooter's biography or shooter experience and just ask them like, hey, what kind of experience do you have in firearms? Like, tell us what you like when you started shooting, what you shoot, what classes have you taken, what competitions have you done, and then you can tell a lot based on like if someone tells us right off the bat like, oh yeah, I'm a D class shooter or a C class shooter, it's just like, yep, you're good. Like I know like if it took you time to get classified, you're good to go. And then like there's other things but Kev, like I
Yeah.
mean, there's a few others that like I mean I know Kev has had people from other areas that you've vetted other ways like off Instagram or Facebook or stuff like that.
yeah, I mean, you could kind of learn a lot. You can learn a lot about a person off of social media.
Yep.
So that's a great way to kind of vet some certain parts of it. But I mean, at the end of the day, like Dave was saying, like Wampler was saying, it sucks you guys both have the same name. But what
It's a good
Wampler
name.
was saying, sure. You almost have to kind of take people at their word and kind of trust them and engage them once they show up for class and stuff. Like we've had some people show up that were very green that had stated that they had a lot of experience, and that's okay. It's not preferred, but I think with our safety margin of both Dave and I being main instructors, and then we always have at like 1 or 2 admin, like we have a lot of oversight, right? So we have ways to kind of work around it to make sure that everybody is safe and we're getting people up to speed and stuff like that. But it is a little bit more challenging when they don't have a certain skill level or at least understanding of competition shooting, because not to say that we have to dumb down the material, we don't, but we just have to make sure the understanding is there a little bit more clear and concise. That makes sense.
Right. You have to say a lot more words to
Yeah.
explain it to them to make sure they understand. I get it.
Yep.
And it does help that we do bring on our team and a few of the guys. So in case there is somebody, and this doesn't even necessarily have to be a green shooter, but our assistants are they're pretty versatile in kind of what we do, and we do have like team training days where we'll go out as a team and do our own like kind of training sessions and whatnot. And so they kind of understand about like how we teach and how we view things, and kind of they've been shooting with us for a while. And so our assistants, if for whatever reason like they need to kind of key in on one person that's not quite getting a particular subject or whatever it is, they're able to kind of take them to the side and work with them real quick and kind of get them up to speed, so we don't bog down like the rest of the class. So if at the same time that person is still getting necessary like input, so that they're not getting completely left behind by one particular drill or one particular situation that we're teaching at the time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, Dave, maybe I'm misremembering, to quote the Biden administration, but did you go to one of the Eric Graffel classes?
I did. I had the wonderful opportunity to take a class from Eric at the beginning of 2023, so just over a year ago.
And can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, as far as taking a class from Eric, I will say this: I've taken a class from a few high-level instructors, and taking a class from Eric is definitely very, very, very eye-opening. His approach to practical shooting is very, very analytical. Everything is numbers based. So everything that he has got figured out as far as winning roll shoot has been based on a pretty strict calculation of how to go about winning stages, and based on his hit factor and knowing his how he performs. And so my biggest takeaway from Eric is the fact that that dude knows his ability and can interpret his ability to actual like quantifiable statistics, and he can play those statistics against the board at any given time to determine his outcome.
Good
And
Lord.
based on how he does that, he's able to ramp up and ramp down to his competition. And like literally, he just the whole time he's going to ask you, like even during drills or whatever it was, hey, what's the hit factor for this? What's the hit factor for this stage? And I'm not sure if you've ever just like walked up to a drill that's like 25 rounds, but like it would be a whole random transition drill with a little bit of movement here, with a little bit of that, and he'll be like, all right, tell me what the hit factor is. And right off the bat, he could tell you the hit factor, and then he could like tell you exactly how long it's going to take you, and exactly like based on you getting perfect hits. And so like he's got his head wrapped around the whole like not practical shooting, but competition very, very in depth. And the biggest takeaway, like I said, from taking this class is super high attention to the small things, and to being very process based in the fact that like everything is a statistic, and you have to learn how to, I guess, make adjustments, and understanding your current ability to better inject probabilities into your shooting. So this way you don't actually go overboard. You know how we always talk about like only shoot at 90% of your ability, like during a match, like match mode and all this jazz. Like he takes it to the extreme of knowing your own performance and how to calculate it, if that makes sense.
Yeah. He's pre Skynet. So
Yeah.
like in the future, he's gonna be like T1000, ain't got nothing on him. So
it's amazing. Yeah, I mean, so that's like that was one of the biggest things, is knowing like how he takes away like and how he calculates. We spent a lot of time based on like self-evaluation for learning what the numbers are telling you. Now, as far as like drills and different stuff that we worked on a lot of transition stuff. We worked on a lot of visual cues. We worked on how to approach moving targets and different techniques on how to approach moving targets. We approached how to, like, as far as what's acceptable as far as hits go on targets, which it's literally just all alphas. You have to get points. And then we actually worked on a huge portion of muzzle awareness. One thing that's funny is like you think when you go take a class with Eric Raffel, like knowing how not to break the 180 and how attentive you are to like where your muzzle is, even if you're riding the 180 moving left or right, like how much of detail he actually puts into that movement. And like one of the things that Eric was telling us was the fact that like when he shoots IPSC, and he travels all over the world shooting IPSC, there's typically IPSC matches are like 30 stages, right, over the course of many days. So therefore, over the course of 30 stages, you have ample opportunity to not only, you know, absorb points, but to also have a chance to get possibly DQ'd. And so because of that, and because you spent so much money in airfare and hotels, and then the whole, you know, the whole machine getting to these matches, you need to make it first and foremost in your head that the only way to make sure you compete consistently at these matches and make sure that you can consistently perform and make sure that is being done safely, and making sure that you're not giving anybody any sort of inkling that you are at any point breaking that 180. And so he was super hard on people about muzzle discipline, and like we went over like ways to like how you angle your hand, how you're like what you're doing as far as initiation steps, moving out of a position to make sure that it gives nobody an excuse for you to like to question your movements or to question where your muzzle is pointed. Because he's like, you know, he's like, I spend months and years perfecting and honing my craft. He's like, this is something that I feel needs to be touched on, and we literally went over it for like 3.5, 4 hours. So it was,
Wow.
but it was good. It was good. I mean, it's something that like you don't even think about, but like even people today, I mean, go to any local match that you attend, and there's a handful of people we all know that, you know, are more concentrated with the targets down range than they are with that muzzle awareness of what the gun, like with the gun in their hand. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
so it's like I can see it, especially for a guy that literally just makes a living traveling and going from match to match to match to match all over the country, all over the world. Yeah, you probably should have that on lock, because I don't want to travel all the way to France or all the way to, you know, wherever a major match is just overseas just to get DQ'd based on, you know, my hand angle for whatever reason.
I 100% agree. Yeah, and I mean it makes perfect sense to be that detail oriented about something like that, because yeah, he's right. You don't want to travel to Thailand and in day one do something stupid, and all of a sudden get disqualified. Now, what are you going to do? You going to hang around for 4 more days, or are you leaving?
Exactly.
You know, what a crappy
Yep.
trip that is.
Yeah, but we learned a lot of I learned a lot of different things from the class. But it was like I said, it was a very mentally taxing class. It was very good.
I can imagine it's. I can see why people are handpicked for the class.
Yeah.
Because you're not going to have, and this is not to offend anybody, but you're not going to have a B class shooter understand it at the same rate as a GM who's constantly competing. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like that is something that that man, that thing kills me every time. What I'm trying to get at here is you've already got to have a very good understanding of everything else in order to think like an Eric Graffel or even a Nils or so, you know, a Christian who, because Christian to me seems like he could be at some point there, because I've just heard little snippets, but I hear him saying, oh, this is a this split. This is, I can do this over here. I can do that over there. So he's already thinking about it in those terms, you know.
Mhm.
But I looked back at the results from this past weekend. He put 225 points on Sal Luna.
Yep.
And I mean, and I'm like,
And Sal's a beast.
I mean, if you said he was going to put 225 points on Sal Luna, I'd be like, what? Come on. He's going to beat him. I mean, he's a GOAT. But by 225 points, oh my gosh.
Yeah,
It's over a 32 round field course.
But that's almost 10 points. You know, at 30 stages, I mean, you're talking 7 points a stage. He's beating him 7 points every single stage. You know?
Mhm.
And it's just constantly adding up. It's like, oh my gosh. So it's interesting that he can just go to any match and calculate that stuff up like a freaking computer.
Hey, I'm gonna tell you what though, it is interesting because like he doesn't put anyone He doesn't put anyone down, and so like his mathematical formula is based on whoever's winning that stage at the time. So like whether it's a B class shooter or C class shooter, whatever it is, whoever's winning that stage at that time, he's able to utilize that hit factor to his calculation and then decide based on where that person is of that class, based on where he can predict the next hit factor needs to be, or like the appropriate skill level hit factor needs to be. And then he can decide, all right, I need to go for it on this stage, or not go for it, but I can shoot at this certain level of my ability to like guarantee this outcome, and then he'll just boom execute it. So like it helps, he says, to like have higher level shooters there to gauge off of, to make sure like he can, like his formula is that much more accurate. But it doesn't matter whether he even has just like B class, C class guys there, he still applies his formula. So it's
crazy.
Amazing.
Yeah. Wow. I mean, I've heard Nils talk in terms of, if you have so many Charlies, now you have a Mike. If you do this, then you have that. But it's interesting how these different guys at that level think in different ways. Because I mean, I've heard Nils say that I wasn't the best shooter that day. Someone else was, but I was the better competitor. And that's what it comes down to. But I think with Eric, though, I think he's got it all. I mean, you could say he might be the greatest shooter, but he's obviously the greatest competitor. You know?
Yeah, for sure.
So the last time that I'm aware he lost was in the shoot off with Robert Vogel.
Yep, so, I watched that the other day.
Oh, did you really?
I did, yeah. Yep.
Okay.
I heard Eric had the flu then too, so I'm going to give Eric the series.
Robert's still taking the win.
Robert still took the win. Yep.
Yeah, well, what I mean is he's going to accept that as like, I beat Eric.
Yeah.
I know.
You got to take, you got to take it when you can take it.
You got to take it when you can take it.
I don't care that he was on crutches. I beat him.
Yep, exactly.
That's funny.
Now, where do you guys plan on taking everything that you've gained from competing, from other shooters that you've taken training from? Where do you plan on going with your training personally and with the business, quote unquote?
I would say, I mean, so we apply a lot from other instructors currently. I think that's kind of what everyone does in the shooting community right now anyway. Yeah. We're all picking and choosing different areas from other things that we like from other instructors, whether it be, you know, a very well-known instructor, or whether it be an instructor that is, you know, not as many people or you know about. But there's still a lot of elements and different things you can take from multiple sources and kind of bring them together. And then, you know, it's going to be ultimately your delivery method is going to be what sticks with people the best. And so based on all the different things that we've learned and that Kevin and I have learned, we both have, you know, even though we shoot together and whatnot, we both have our own unique styles of shooting. And I think that's one thing that kind of draws people to us in our collab, is because, you know, there's certain things that Kev does better than I do, and there's certain things I do better than what Kev does. And, you know, that's the pros to the, you know, the pluses to having both of us do the same type of thing. But as far as like training goes, at least for me, it's just hardcore grinding out on the fundamentals is kind of where I'm going to be for quite a while. I mean, it's the small nitty gritty stuff. I will tell you what, there is no low hanging fruit at this point. It's just everything that I work on is going to be, I mean, you're grinding on. So lots and lots and lots of reps and lots of rounds downrange. I find that as much dry fire as I've done in my life and I've done in the past, a lot, at this point in my shooting career, it requires a lot of rounds downrange to get to get better.
Yeah, and that when I had John Vlieger on, he said I don't dry fire anymore. I just live fire.
Oh, you gotta love John.
Well, John also can typically walk out back and do a little bit of shooting too.
Yeah, his
he can exactly.
Too.
So what were you gonna say, Kevin?
No, I was just gonna say, you know, I'm pretty similar. You know, my schedule, my life just right now is pretty busy. It's been busy. You know, everybody's busy, right? But I just don't really get I'm not afforded a lot of spare time. So my dry fire sessions just are pretty short when I get to have them. as a fireman, I don't get to bring a gun to work. Like I've trained a bunch of cops and military guys, and they're like, yeah, why don't you just bring your gun to work and dry fire work? I'm not allowed to do
Doesn't
that.
work that
So
way. No,
yeah, so it's
they
so
frown
at
on that.
least so at least a third of each month or a third of it each year, I can't dry fire at all, right? So I gotta have to figure out where I can piecemeal it all together. But like Dave, like Wampler was saying, uh, at the level that we're at now, not to say that dry fire is not important, it is, but I'm finding that live fire is a little bit more valuable than dry fire for me right now, only because everything's got to be in time, right? The way you split your gun, the way that you transition your gun, it's all a visual cue on what you see in terms of recoil impulse and for whatever given target array or presentation. So for me, it's just a lot of reps, like Dave was saying. I'm going to be doing a lot of. You can ask almost anybody out there; they'll tell you most of what we do is all fundamental based, right? You talk to JJ, most of his training is all fundamental based. Like everybody wants to do a lot of this moving and stuff like that, and that's great. If you're afforded some moments to go out to a range and set up a couple walls, fault lines, whatever else, and move, that's awesome. Um, but if you can really learn the timing of how your gun or how your dot or your sights react and learn exactly when to press the trigger on whatever given target array, I think you'll do yourself more justice than just running around like crazy. If you're it, and that's just my opinion, right? Like if you're kind of crunched on time, what am I going to do? Work on moving or am I going to work on shooting? I would 9 times out of 10 be more concerned about the shooting aspect than the moving, because if you can't buckle down really hard on how you shoot, right, once you start moving, that gets harder. Shooting gets harder. So yeah, I don't know if that answered your question at all, but a lot of fundamental stuff. So very similar to what Dave is saying, and it kind of sound I feel like his little parrot over here at the top, but that's why we're a great team, because I think without intentionally doing it, we think very much on the same wavelength in terms of training and stuff like that. So
Now, let's say you have a 2 hour training session by yourself it's just you on the range.
mhm.
How much dry fire are you doing between live fire strings? Any at all, or 10%, or
Me personally, not very
okay?
much. Like if I was shooting, let's just argue I was shooting 10 shots, I would probably do 9.5, 9.5 live fire, like very little.
Okay,
Is
so 5%. That's it.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So I would say for me it would be application based. So like if I'm doing a lot of mini stages, like so it depends what my structure, what my dry fire, what my live fire session is going to entail. Like the biggest thing you need to really do is have a plan leading into the live fire. There's nothing worse than getting to the range and just being like, just throw this up, and then you have no structure and there you don't know what you need to work on or anything like that. Like your live fire needs to be structured. So with that being said, like if I'm going to the range, and I'm going to decide, hey, today I'm going to be running like a mini stage of some sort. Like usually over the course of shooting that mini stage, I'll change start positions or whatever it is. Well, when I do that, I'll run through it dry a few times, not just walk it like we do like at a match, but actually run it dry with the gun out, so that like it just take advantage of the situation that we're currently in. Like I mean, at a match, you can't dry fire with the gun out. You can't like get the nuances of having the gun and like how you're going to work the gun around barriers and how you're going to actually move with the gun in your hand. So like if you can do that when you're at the range, then by all means take advantage of all those little nuances. Like just because you're a football, like during football practice, they'll have ladders on the ground, but there's no ladders on the ground during the actual game. Like take advantage of the situations that present themselves to you, especially during your practice sessions. So with that being said, I mean it depends. Then there's other times where I'm working on tons of fundamentals or like even standards where you're not doing any moving and shooting. A lot of times those I'll do a few like visualization, but then like as soon as I'm done visualizing it for a quick like heartbeat, I'm not going to necessarily dry fire it out and whatnot. But I won't do as much dry fire in that type of repetition, if that makes sense. I'll do a lot
Yeah.
more live fire repetition. So sometimes more, sometimes less in dry fire, or in live fire. That I'll implement, dry fire. But I will say it also, like, it depends on your ammo budget. Um,
Yeah.
like if you only have 200 rounds to take to the range, like I can burn through 200 rounds in 10 minutes, 15 minutes, real quick.
Mhm.
So I mean, like it just depends what you plan on working on, and then if you want to really take the time and push a 2 hour session to its full max with like 200 rounds, then I'd probably say you're going to be doing quite a bit of dry fire. So just depends on application and what you really want to work on.
Do you guys ever use it to warm up before you get going on it, or do you like to run a drill cold right at the very beginning?
Sometimes yes, sometimes no. I mean, there's times where you pick and choose stuff. I mean,
Right.
it depends what you want to work on, and so like sometimes it helps to have a whiteboard, in your dry fire dojo at home or whatever it is, and figure out exactly what you're going to be working on in your dry fire, and then what you can do to take that to your live fire, right? When you go to that live fire, sometimes there's times where I want to run a drill like cold, and at that point I treat it. I do a dry fire warm up, just like if I were at the safe area at the range, right, or at a match or whatever it is. I'll do like 5 minutes or whatever it is of dry fire to get acclimated to the site, to make sure my grip is solid, to make sure I'm presenting my index is right, make sure that's good, and then I'll just hit the beep, and hopefully the drill turns out the way I want it to turn out, and I get data points and get feedback from there.
And Instagram wins.
I mean,
Yeah.
realistically, that's like your normal dry. That's like your normal make ready, right? Anyway,
Yeah.
usually like 5 to 10 minutes of
Yeah,
Oh.
5-10 minutes.
Wait for this back and then do it again. And then
Make
you get
ready.
paralyzed
Everybody go
and you
grab a
don't know.
drink. We'll be back.
Yep. So, but yeah, no. But then there's other times where like I'll just sometimes I start the session off with like some just basic group shooting, and then I run harder into the session, if that makes sense.
Yep.
So I'll kind of do a ramp up. Other times it's just jump right into it. Other times I'll pick sessions where I don't ever shoot the same thing twice, which is something that Eric Raffel does. And then, like, if there's multiple targets and multiple orders, I will just choose a random order every single rep and change it, because we never get a chance to shoot the same thing twice in USPSA. We're always shooting a different stage. Other sessions, I'll take a different approach, whereas I'll set up a standards type of drill or like a standards mini stage, and I'll rep that thing out in the same order constantly. So just having a plan, if you ask me, is like the biggest thing, and then sticking to that plan for your practice session. And then if you want to dry fire it out, if you don't want to and you have the rounds to burn, then go for it. But there is a lot of stuff that can be seen in dry fire when you take the actual shooting out of the equation. So like there's everything's a data point when you look at it.
Yeah.
So absolutely.
So have you ever set up a basic classifier, USPSA style classifier, and run that cold just to see if you can run it a certain percent, like it was the first stage of the day? So that way you have a gauge with which to see where you're at.
So with a lot of my clients that end up training and stuff, I usually do like a lot of big group stuff, right? So there's usually, I don't know, 6 to 10 guys. So to be able to offer something right on demand is kind of what I'm afforded all the time, right? I always have to demo, right? So most of my practice sessions, if you want to call them that, is in the confines of when I'm teaching. Those moments where I get to do a demo is usually when I get to do some live fire, like genuinely. So I don't really get a lot of time to train, unfortunately, but those moments that I do get to train when I'm demoing, I do them cold because we need to be able to perform on demand, right? And on top of that, that gives a little bit of, what is the word I'm looking for? Like stress, right? You have like all these guys watching you, like, oh, is he gonna mess it up? Is he gonna do well? Like, he's a GM, he should do it well. And when you when you're able to just sell yourself and perform, I think that does a lot for yourself in building the confidence and to kind of walk on a stage and just perform. So do I set up specific stages like a classifier or something like that? Not really. I don't necessarily like practicing classifiers. There's once upon a time when I did, but I don't really think about them anymore. A stage is a stage for me.
Yeah, and I didn't mean it as in like practice it, but just set it up to where you have to use you guys' language, you have a data point with which to compare where you're at cold. You know what I mean?
Sure,
That's the
yeah,
only reason I bring that up. But Kevin, you're on a Mac, aren't you?
I am. It showed me
Yeah.
like a little thumbs up here. I was like, what is this bubble?
I just found out that I use EVMux for recording, and if people are on a Mac, they can actually activate some of the widgets, some of the like emoji style stuff with hand gestures. So when you were
That's
doing
so
that,
strange.
you activated it. Yeah.
I'm on an iPad.
Is this one?
So
This one?
well, I had Noel Zars on here, and he did it 4 different times. So
That is funny.
That's so funny.
that is.
Yeah.
All right. So before we went live, we talked a little bit about you guys are getting ready to go to IPSC Nationals. So I assume that both of you are looking to go to World Shoot, or is this just another match you want to try something different? What's the deal here?
At least for me, I find myself my goal for years ago was to go to World Shoot. COVID had other plans, so that kind of got pushed around and pushed and pushed and pushed, and then inevitably I wasn't able to attend the most recent World Shoot that I had qualified for. So with that being said, like I don't really know what's the what 2025 has in store. Um, who knows? So at that point, as far as IPSC Nationals goes, it's a decent match. It's a lot of fun. I'm excited to see what the one over on the West Coast is going to do. But at the same time, like we always already intend on going to nationals, and with with that, like because you don't really know what the future entails, and who knows, we might want to go to the next World Shoot, we might not. But unless you qualify for it, or unless you attend the matches that you need to go to shoot to get into it, it automatically rules you out. So if those matches are already just on our schedule naturally, then it doesn't rule out any possibilities for us. So right now, as far as me, I'm gonna act like I'm going to World Shoot in 2025, but if it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, then at least I know that I didn't just sit there and decide, oh man, I really wish I could have gone and didn't qualify. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
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 So
For me, like honestly, I never really considered this being I've gotten farther in this or gotten deeper into this sport more than I ever really intended to. I kind of happenstance fell into it because my boss was a GM and he was like, "Oh, let me sponsor you." Okay. I didn't really know what I was doing at the time, but I've gone deeper and deeper and deeper. I've never really thought I would do IPSC until Dave kind of talked me into it, and I was like, all right, whatever, it'll be a IPSC match. Let me just give it a try, whatever. We both did pretty well. And like now that I'm thinking about it, I'm like, dude, how cool would it be to represent the U.S. on the world stage, right? That's like the Olympics for us. So that would be an awesome honor, and that my dreams and thoughts and everything have kind of shifted, and now I'm like, dude, that would be really awesome to be able to represent the U.S., especially alongside some of these great guys that shoot. If Dave was there, that would be amazing if Dave Wampler and I were to show up there in IPSC World Shoot and represent the U.S.
I get it.
It'd
You
be
don't
really
want me to
awesome.
show up.
I was like, I got to make sure we clarify which Dave I'm talking about right now.
I know.
I love you, Dave.
Which one?
There's a reason why I didn't say last name.
So now, are both of you gonna shoot open?
Yeah, we actually made the Super
Yep.
Scarper open.
Yep.
Yeah.
So we were very fortunate.
Okay.
Yep, they made so they're they changed IPSC Nationals for this year just a little bit. It's a 3-day format. They actually have super squads. It's going to be kind of, I want to say, didn't we talk about this earlier, like 21, 22 stages?
Yeah, something like that.
I think that's what it's going to be. So it's interesting because years past, IPSC Nationals has always, or US IPSC Nationals has always just felt kind of like a section match, if that makes sense. It hasn't ever
Okay.
felt like a nationals level match. Just because it's never had that feel. So I think this year is they are making the attempt to kind of make it more of a like nationals event,
An
because
event.
it is all intents and purposes one of the only IPSC matches other than what they bring into Florida here and there, that is an actual IPSC match in the United States. So they want to make it a little bit more grand, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
Yep. So this one, I'm really excited for this one. This one's gonna be fun.
Yeah, neither of us have been down to Arizona to shoot,
Yep.
so it'll be really awesome. Looking forward to it.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
Well, and I asked if you were both shooting open because you guys have a tendency to, other than like open nationals, but a lot of other matches like Virginia State and whatnot, you guys will shoot different divisions. I don't know if you're just trying to hog all the trophies or go easy on each other or what.
No, Kev and I have had this conversation a few times. We're just like, hey, you want to go for overall or do you want to win your division? And so it'd be like, yeah,
Yes.
without sounding conceited or anything like that, we'd be like, all right, you go win this, I'll win this, or you go win that, I'll win this.
There you go. Yeah.
So, but I
Yeah.
mean, we're very much a team aspect. I know at Delmarva, I know coming straight off IPSC Nationals, Kev, I don't know if you're going to shoot open at Delmarva or if you've decided if you're going to shoot carry opt or lim ops or whatever.
I'm gonna shoot lim ops. Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, so in my anticipation, like at least for 2 matches that we're shooting this year, is that Kev will shoot Virginia State in open again, hopefully, so he can defend his title, and then I'll shoot open in Delmarva to defend my title since I won Delmarva last year. So and then we both don't give each other. There's no sense of giving each other a run for the money. We'll let everybody else do that, but we can still also at the same time. Because we have a team and we are trying our best to represent ourselves as a team, it is a group effort when we win. We kind of all share in the revelry. So with that, if one of us can win the division and then another one of us can win the overall, that's wins back in our book. So we're that makes us happy, especially I can't remember who else with we had a really good showing for the collab team.
At Virginia State. Yeah, Logan won B Carrier Optics, and I think Dylan won Carrier Optics A, and he made master that day.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that was a good show.
Yeah, I had it up earlier. Let me. I'll pull it back up. But yeah, it was something like that. Oh, there we go. Boom. Now scroll down. There it is. So it was, Kevin won open high overall. David Wampler, for the audience, was the limited optics champ, not David Riddle. And then you guys had Carry Optics A champ, and he was limited optics B second.
Second, that's what it was.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, that's right. I think, did he win LE too?
He did. That's what he won. He won LE.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that I assume then, David, you'll be defending your limited optics title.
I mean, I think that's the only necessary conclusion to this whole thing is what we need to do.
So Dave, let me just put it this way: we had a conversation leading up to Virginia State, and he's like, "Well, hey, I'll just shoot." This is Dave talking, by the way. He goes, "Hey, I'll just shoot limited optics, so that way I'll give you a chance to win."
You can take it. You can have that one.
You can have that one, so that way you can have a belt too. I already have my belt, so you can have a belt. That's what he said.
I feel like I'm very charitable.
funny.
But yes,
So
no,
how
we,
was
go ahead.
go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was just gonna go ahead and move on to last year's Open Nationals.
Okay.
Now, how was that for you guys?
Oh, first day was amazing. First day was amazing for me. Kev, I know you were at the end of the first day not feeling great, and then the second day for me was a rough go. Kev, you did a lot of claw. Not, I want to say clawing back, but you made a good, like, you had a good push on the second day, and then the last day we both just, like, I felt like the last day we both did relatively well.
Yeah,
There were
I
a
don't
couple
know.
things.
There was a couple things. It was like I couldn't shake 2 mics per day. I don't know what it was, but I couldn't shake 2 mics per day. It's like I went like the first stage was great. The second stage, this is day one. First stage was awesome, but that was like a stand and deliver classifier style stage. So it's kind of like my bread and butter of what I practice. So that went fine. And then the second stage, I had a mic, and then 2 stages later, I had a mic, and I was like, man, like I just couldn't do it. And so it just kept continuing on that way for me. But I don't know. I thought even though I shot a few more mics than I wanted to, I think that was probably one of the better nationals that I've ever shot. Same for you, Dave. I think that was probably one
Yeah.
of the best nationals that you shot. We were in good company. We had great weather. We had, I think the stages were really, really, really good. Good mix of everything, and it challenged us in many different ways that we got to kind of show off some of our skills in terms of accuracy, in terms of moving and stuff like that. So I was pretty pleased, honestly, from just in general. I was pretty pleased with how we ended up. It's always hard shooting the AM, PM, AM shift because the super squad and everybody else shoot the PM on the last day, right? So like you're sitting in limbo for half a day, kind of wondering, well, where do I actually sit?
Waiting to see where you're going to fall.
Yeah,
That's where you need
yeah.
Eric to come in and tell you where you're going to fall.
Dude, I would love Eric to come to Open Nationals. I would love to see. I would love to see that. I would love to see that battle. It would be amazing. It would be awesome.
Oh, I would too. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I would go just to watch.
So, question: If Eric Raffel came to Open Nationals, would they automatically put him in the Super Squad?
They better. I mean,
Well,
you got to bump somebody. Somebody's got to go.
Yeah, I know, right?
I'm not gonna lie. I guarantee there's at least one person on the Super Squad that would be like,
Yeah,
"Yep,
man,
I'm gonna have to pull out of this.
I'll sit this one out on the other squad."
Yep.
Yeah, just shove me over there. I'll watch.
Yep. Oh, exactly.
Yeah, that's funny.
That's where you're just like, hey man, we're just gonna bump you to the second Super Squad. It's all good.
That's all
But
good.
yeah, Eric's got to be on there because you've got to have Eric and Christian and Aaron all on that squad.
Oh yeah. Oh, it'd be awesome.
So I tell you what, June Kim is coming up too.
Oh
so
yeah. Yep.
He's right there in the thick of that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He looks good with that masterpiece too, man. The masterpiece arms. He's shooting masterpiece arms now, right? Yeah.
Who? June?
Looks pretty good, June, yeah.
June, yeah.
Did you just switch over to that?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yep. So
I think he had an Infinity and another guy had the masterpiece arms and they actually swapped guns.
Oh, is
and
that
they're
what it
both
was?
happy with what they got. Yeah, that's what it was.
Oh, okay. Nice.
Interesting. Okay.
So, worked out for the two of them.
Yeah.
Well, because I think he had a 9mm or 9 major Infinity, and he wanted 38 Super Comp. That's
he's better.
Anyway,
I mean, because 38 Super Comp is Master Race, so I get it.
Sure.
Makes perfect sense. Perfect sense. It's a better round.
Oh boy.
That's what it takes to win Virginia.
So Kevin, you were never able to diagnose what it was that was going on to cause the mics, or did you just put it behind you?
I think for me it was kind of I was just getting I was being a little bit too loose. Towards like day 2 and 3, honestly, a little bit of the fatigue was starting to set in towards the end, but Yeah, I mean that's really the misses that I had. I was looking at them, and I remember talking to Dave about it. It was like, well, that one was stupid. That shouldn't have happened. And then this one, I just pushed a little bit too hard. I wasn't patient with my sights. So they're like little small details that I just wasn't really keyed in on at the moment for whatever reason. Like there was one stage where we had two different ports, and you could shoot the swinger from both sides, and then there was two wide open targets, and for some reason I decided to go completely crazy on these two wide open targets, and I had a mic on a 3 yard target. It's just
Oh wow.
yeah, it was just little things like that. Maybe it wasn't 3 yards, maybe it was like 5 or 7 yards, but either way, it
But
was
it
a
was
wide open
close. I
target.
get you.
It was close, and it shouldn't have happened, right? So I just got a little trigger happy, and little things like that. So
Well, and the reason I'm asking is, do you go back and then train on different things to try to make sure you don't repeat the same mistakes?
Yeah, Kev, you need to shoot those. You need to go shoot some 3 yard targets as fast as you can.
as fast as I can, transition
There you
transition them
go.
as
Yeah.
fast as I can. Yeah. Yeah, it's gonna be
Uh,
really valuable use of my ammunition.
yes. Yes. No.
Okay, never
oh,
mind.
so ultimately in situations like that, like you recognize it, right? And you recognize,
Yeah.
but really where that what stems from you throwing a mic at like a 4 yard target or whatever it is the fact that your concentration is elsewhere on a more
Yeah.
technical area on the stage, right?
Yeah.
And so one way to drill that or to overcome, let's say, that type of situation is to work on technical situations that allow your brain to get more acclimated to processing that type of information faster, so that when you go to a really fast, let's say a fast section in a stage, um, you can still have like be keyed in to like the next area you're going to, but you have the mental bandwidth to take on the load of this one particular area while still transitioning your mind and where you're like your whole the process of how you're taking on the rest of the stage, and still kind of be able to put a little bit of mental fortitude towards another section. Does it make sense?
Mhm.
100%.
So you're not like constantly. So yeah. So like if you mess up on a very simple section, this is going to be like one of those situations where you go back to high school, and if you do really bad on like a math test, like the best way to correct an issue on the math test is not to necessarily, yeah, you can go practice more math equations, but maybe your mind is just starved of oxygen, so you need to go do wind sprints to get that back. So maybe like maybe doing some sort of wind sprint of some sort to get your mind right,
Yeah.
in training, to allocate more bandwidth will help you from go into a really small section and getting fixed in on this one small area, or for instance, or taking areas of certain stages just for granted. You know what I mean? And
Mhm.
understanding the allocated weight that you're dividing to certain areas on stages. And now I'm just rambling. So anyway,
Well, but no, I get it. I mean,
yeah,
but that's what I'm saying. But it's still a diagnosis, and you're still saying, okay, I just
Yeah.
lost focus here. I was focusing on something else I shouldn't have been. I need to work on just making sure I'm in the present at
Yeah.
each shooting position. That's
yeah,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah. And really, like Dave was saying, like just having the bandwidth, right? So being able to treat the targets that focus on what you need to focus on this target, but while still thinking about this other more complicated thing coming up. There's a lot of different drills that you can kind of do, like dedicated targets, a great one, right? Kind of doing a different arrays. One of the things that JJ used to like to do, where you're starting a stage, you only shoot the stage one time in each different starting position, so you start somewhere else every single time, and you kind of have to figure it out on the fly. So like different drills like that, where you kind of build up the ability for your mind to process that information in real time, is really what I've been trying to focus on a lot of this year. So
yeah.
Okay.
One thing I would, and one thing I've been teaching or in talking to a lot of people about is it's not it's not bad to shoot a stage or to shoot a certain type of scenario or certain array at the rate at which you can think.
Mhm.
So like, you know how there's a lot of situations we go to a match, and we try to burn in stages, and we try to, like, we think of our stage plan, we come up with a stage plan, and then we can't change it now because, like, we're on the line, we're two
Right.
shooters up, we can't make a change to the stage plan, otherwise, like, you know, we're gonna crash and burn. Well, not having that mental elasticity to make quick adjustments to your stage plan. I mean, there's times I'll see whether I'm, you know, whether it's Kevin running the stage like right before me, or whether it's a D class shooter running the stage right before me that did something that, like, he or she didn't even know they could do. And I'm like, oh, you know what? That's interesting. I didn't see that little aspect or that little twist of, like,
Yeah.
they can, like, you can actually shoot that target from right there, and that might be a little bit quicker if you have the mental fortitude to make that quick adjustment right there on the line. It's
Yeah.
going to go a long way in really being able to, you know, think and shoot at the same time. There's a lot of stages we have in USPSA that, like, are memory type of stages. So you have to just be in, you know, we want to do our best to, like, burn in stage plans and to really memorize, like, how we're going to shoot a particular stage and really visualize it, right? But we also need to have, like, basically a process that's going to allow us to adapt and overcome for situations that are not accounted for. Let's say, for instance, that steel that activates the target didn't go down with one shot. It took a second shot. Or, like,
Yeah.
let's say, you know, the swinger came out faster than we thought it was going to, or slower than we thought it was going to, or we're one step to the left or we're one step to the right too far. Like, making these quick, easy, small course corrections, like, when we get off, it shouldn't just snowball and make the rest of the stage bad. Or there's a, like, in the complete opposite, like, there's times where we can take advantage of certain situations if they arise. Like, oh man, that swinger came out way faster, like, let me get on that and then let me get moving sooner, or exit on it, or however we want to do it. But, like,
Yeah.
being so locked in and not being able to shoot at, like, being able to shoot at the pace at which you can think doesn't necessarily mean you're shooting slow. um, you can shoot smart, and a lot of people get in that process, so that, you know, I'm not telling you it's an excuse not to walk the stage and not to have a sound stage plan and not to, like, you know, have a strategy that's going to work. But being able to, you know, there's a lot of times where people just, they, you know, once they hear that beep, they can't process anything, they can't do anything, they might as well have just hit, like, send, and, like, the most mental effort they took was to, like, hit the record on their camera, and then now they're just an auto drive to the end, and then they can't even tell you the feedback when they, so on those show clear, like, all right, tell me, walk me through your stage, and they can't even give you, like, you know, audible feedback or play by play because they don't realize what just happened. So, you know, that's, at least that's something that I've come across, and I found that, you know, doing different types of drills, doing different types of field courses, I have found that, like, if you think your way through a field course and you shoot at the rate at which you can think, if you're doing drills to increase your bandwidth overall, then you're naturally going to be able to shoot at a fast pace, but you're also going to be able to shoot at your performance and really be able, or at your capability, and be able to maximize your capability at that time, if that makes sense. And, like, be able to shoot at that capability without going over that proverbial ledge and, like, you know, pushing too hard and throwing that mic or throwing that, you know, that no shooter or whatever it is. So
Yeah, and you know, I almost feel like when you were sitting there talking, I wrote down. I was like, I feel like when you were talking about, you know, some things happen in stages, and the thing you mentioned specifically was a swinger coming out faster than you expected. I was like, you know, I don't necessarily see that at major matches because they try to keep everything the same for everybody.
mhm.
But I see that at local matches where, you know, the squad before you may not have set it up the same way, or, you know, maybe you, so the demonstration is one way, and then the RO resets it. And then next thing you know, it's different. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So I could see where local matches would be a good practice with dealing with things that are gonna, you know, throw a widget in there on you.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Oh yeah. Yeah. Every time you shoot a local match, treat it as if it's a major match. And you know, there's a lot of guys and a lot of people that we teach that that treat matches as if they're just practice for,
Yeah.
like, a major match. But in reality, practice is practice matches are matches, and if you treat matches, even local matches, like they're a major match, and you figure out the feedback and you figure out as far as like data points from those local matches, you'll be able to take those and move those to your major matches and be able to and be substantially more successful.
Yeah, and going back to that whole swinger thing, right? Like, you Dave and I have gone to majors, and I actually even think even at nationals, um, it's different how the swinger will react, right? So like if we're at like IPSC nationals or something like that, like seeing like a 9 minor round hit the popper versus a major round, obviously it's going to
Yeah.
react different, right? So the speed in which
Correct.
it actually activates and how it comes out, whatever, it's all going to be different. So one of the things that Dave and I have been really good about is like if there's an open shooter or somebody shooting that with major ammo, we'll watch that very specifically for that correct timing. Because if we get a whole bunch of people who are shooting minor ammo and yeah, we see the thing swing, but if we can't gauge how much we can get done prior or whatever the case may be, then when we step up to the plate, the timing is going to be off, right? So
Gotcha.
going along those same lines, again, having that mental elasticity to be able to like, oh well, that is faster. Okay, we'll go back to basic skills that we've kind of learned and adapted through the years on how to engage swingers and movers is kind of where we have to kind of rely on there. So
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. So let's get to the fun stuff. David, I heard this is your first year at SHOT Show.
Yep.
So what'd you think?
So I thought it was pretty awesome. I will say that it is interesting going from a competition mindset. Our world is you realize it's oh so small compared to
Yeah.
the whole rest of
The whole industry.
the whole industry. Yes.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh my gosh, and it is funny. And I mean, I'm not going to call out any companies or anything along those lines, but there's some companies out there that have a really small booth that you thought were way bigger than they were, and then there's other companies that you're like, oh, I didn't realize they were like, I barely even, I barely see them or whatever it is, and they have one of the biggest booths you can imagine. And like, it's crazy because like depending on the type of booth you see, depending on their setups, and depending on like how many people they have, and you see like you get kind of an idea of where these companies are in the standings, if that makes sense, of where they are
Yep.
in the industry. And whether you like go there and ask them or talk to them or whatever it is, it's interesting to see kind of like where everyone lies as far as the status goes in the industry. So it is fascinating. It is eye opening to see. It's super awesome to go around and see all the new products that are getting launched. Obviously, you can't buy stuff at SHOT Show, but it is awesome to be able to actually put your hands on some really cool stuff. I mean, Kevin and I went to the Holosun booth, and my goodness, their thermal optics are ridiculous.
ridiculous.
Especially on the pistol, they have a sight on top of a pistol that is thermal, and literally you put like. You're at SHOT Show, so that's the only time where like muzzling people is like acceptable.
Yeah, it is kind of weird, isn't it?
It is.
That is the wildest thing because you see this guy just.
I struggle with that.
Oh, man.
I'm like trying to keep the pistols down and stuff, and you see everybody just like,
oh yeah,
you got guns pointed at your head. You're like, what the hell's going on?
Yep.
Yeah, there's a face. Let me put it there.
Yeah. And so like,
Right.
so with that being said, like any company that's got optics or anything on their guns, like of course they did their best to like make them look as fake guns as possible, but they're still like the only way to put, for whatever reason, the only way to put optics on in like to effectively look through a scope was to like point it at somebody. Like it didn't have to be an object, just like it had to be like a person for whatever reason. But with that being said, like it's hard not to get a thermal reading on an object, so you have to kind of point it at somebody or something. Like so, it was just like,
Right.
oh my gosh, it was like, hey Kev, I'm gonna point a gun at you real quick, but it's not a real gun, but it's a I need to see what this thermal looks like, and so like you'll be looking through the thing, pointing at somebody. But yeah, no, it was a fun experience. Companies had some really awesome stuff. Holosun had some amazing stuff they were coming out with. And then what else? Who else? We walked around and saw a ton ton of stuff.
Yeah.
It was
There's
So,
almost no
on
way
the-
to see the whole entire show. There's no way.
No.
yeah. If you like have a plan, and then like you
Stick
can
to it.
stick to the plan, and then like I guess what we could do is like you could map it out to where you're not like doubling back a ton.
That's
if
the
that makes
only way
sense.
you'd be able to do it. Yeah.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like we covered a lot of ground 10 times over again.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yep.
Like you'd be like, oh, let's
I
go
do it
check
every
this
year.
out. Oh wait, let me go all the way back across here to go see this one thing, and then you go
Yep.
all the way across the other to the like over the bridge and to the other rooms, and then you're like, oh wait, let me go back over there, and
Yeah.
you're 8.5 miles in steps in the first day before you know it.
Well, that first day I stopped in at the Atlas booth that morning. I just missed you guys because the bridge didn't open till 9 and it was like 8:30, 8:40. And there was just the entire population of Beijing was waiting for those doors to open.
Yep.
You know? So I'm like, wait a minute. I know they're over here. Hold on. It's over. Let me go over here.
Yeah.
And you guys weren't there, but it was nice to be, look at the stuff they had on display and talk to those guys too. But yeah, it is. I mean, I've been the last 3 years and then 1996. But it just keeps getting bigger. And unless you're like, okay, I'm going to take this section and just walk this section this day, that's the only way you're going to see the whole show. There's no other way to do it. Otherwise, it's like you said, Dave, it's the same thing I do is you walk all the way to the other side, then you come all the way back. Then you walk to the other side, then you come all the way back. You're not necessarily walking the exact same path, but you're still hitting the same sides all
Yep.
the time.
Yeah.
Yep.
It
Yep.
is. I can't even begin to explain to people just how many. There were 55,400 people there this year.
Really?
Solid.
I got the email from NSSF because I go as media and then they give me certain information and they're the most attended one yet, 55,400 people.
I think I could see that. I could see
with
that.
13 miles of aisles. So
I think we walked every single one of them. No, we
Really?
didn't stop. We didn't stop because like you're
Yeah,
there.
we
You
stopped,
stop.
you know.
No, but like goodness gracious, there's so much stuff there. I mean, it's fast. It is fascinating. Like I said, like you can't.
it is.
You can't see everything you want to see unless you have a good plan. But like even then, like I feel like if you go downstairs, which is like what we talked about, it's where like the more upcoming companies are, like the more ground, like, grassroots companies are, and some of the stuff they have is fascinating. But you know what's killing me is the fact that like you go online a week after SHOT Show and people are posting all these videos of things of like products, and you're like, why didn't I go see that? I should have went and saw that.
Yeah.
Why didn't I go see that company? I was meant to see that company, but I didn't even think about it. So it is it's a little overwhelming. I would say if you want to make a schedule to stick to, do so. But you also, if you want to meet with companies, establish meetings ahead of time. Because I will say, like, there's a lot of times where these companies that you want to get meetings with or whatever it is, they have already booked out the people that you need to talk to. Not just like, the booth people, but like the people that are, important. The people that you need to talk to are
The
already
movers
booked
and the
up.
shakers.
Yeah, they're already booked up. So like, do your best to do all of your, preemptive work ahead of time before SHOT. So this way, like, you have it all scheduled out, ready to go.
Well, and the other thing with that too is Tuesdays are what they call suit day. That's where all the meetings and all that stuff occurs, a lot of it. And then a lot of them have fewer meetings scheduled the following days because they leave that open for those spur of the moment or stuff that happens on Tuesday. They're like, oh, we need a follow up. So it's usually, I find, easier to go and look at, well, it's not easier to look at product on Tuesday because everybody and their mother is there trying to do the same thing.
Tuesday, Wednesday is pretty nuts though.
It is. That's where I wish. I was telling Kevin, I flew out on Thursday. I wish I had Thursday and Friday, but that would have meant like I flew direct on Breeze. So that means I would have had to wait till Sunday for the next flight out. And I was like, I am not waiting all weekend to get back because I flew the Thursday prior. So I'd already been there for a week. So That wasn't going to happen. Now, so for each of you, what was the favorite non-Atlas product you saw while you were there?
Oh man, favorite non-Atlas product.
Fat Amy.
Yeah, Fat Amy.
Is that appropriate?
Fat Amy was dope.
So
That's what it was called.
What is it?
It's
So
a
Holosun, it's a dot. Yeah. So Holosun makes the AIMS, right? The AEMS. It's an awesome enclosed emitter red dot. Well, they created one that was bigger. They call it. I don't know if it's actually gonna be called this, but the guy told us it's called the Fat Amy. Like we're trying to get it past to be called the Fat Amy. This thing was huge,
Yeah,
and it was perfect.
it was
dope.
awesome.
Yeah, the glass was like the AIMS is already an awesome dot, but they just made it larger.
Yep.
So I was a big fan of it. I thought it was awesome.
Yeah, it's on Ronin's gun. That's what. That's who's like.
That's
If you
what it
have,
was. Yeah.
yeah, if you have a chance to see his gun, it's on his gun. But I didn't even realize it was his gun. I didn't even realize that to the after the fact. And we're all sitting there like messing around with this thing. Yeah, and I was like, man, that dot is awesome. Like this is fantastic. And then evidently that's something that a collab thing that they did or whatever it was. But yeah, no, that dot was pretty good. I will say this because Holosun does not make an LPVO yet. And they're making that the primary arms optics, LPVOs. Those are pretty sweet. As far as the capability and for the price point, those new. I can't. Kev, what's the model you just picked up?
So I bought the more budget one, but I bought the SLX, but the Mac Daddy one, I think it's the PLX. That thing is freaking amazing. It's a 1:8 by 24, I believe. It's 1:8 by 24.
Well, they do 1:8 and 1:6. They had two options.
But the PLX was a 1:8, but their new ACSS Nova reticle is amazing. It's just very simple. Dave and I are on the same wavelength in terms of rifle. Not that we're like huge rifle guys, but we don't like all the clutter, right, in a reticle. So it was very bare minimum. It was you just had a couple hash marks for your drops and then a super bright fiber wire right in the middle. It's beautiful. So that was awesome. I really liked that as well.
Now, did you guys look at the new Seymour dot by chance?
Yes, the RTS 3.
Yeah, because I didn't. I meant to, but I didn't get over there. Thoughts on the dot? Okay, moving on.
I mean, sure.
Honestly, for me, I think Seymour makes a great product, right?
Yeah.
I'm not discrediting them at all. I think they make a great product. But it was a Seymour.
Okay.
Like it looked the same.
Yeah,
for me, it looked the
like
same. The glass was a little bit bigger, but
yeah, it looked like a little bit bigger glass. It is literally just a bigger, like a little bit more glass on a Seymour. It wasn't anything crazy as far as like more clarity, more like yes, it's a little bit different than what's it called? Than like what it's different than what the Trigicon is or like what that kind of stuff is, right? But it's not like
there wasn't any new innovation then.
Well, no, I mean the glass was bigger, right? So like yeah, they
but that's what I mean.
Which is pretty big. But it's other than that, it wasn't anything mind blowing. The MSRP was interesting. It's still in the lines of what their current Seymours are. So whereas you see a lot of dots going to a depending on like as far as the affordability price range stuff like that, this dot was a little bit pricey. I mean I can't remember right off the top of my head, but I just knew that the price was a little bit high for me. And so it's a good dot, I'm sure, and I would be interested to see what the battery, like the longevity is. I would like to see. I can't wait to. There's going to be a lot of shooters in competition shooting them, I'm sure. So it will be interesting to see what the longevity is of the dot. Eric Rafael.
Eric's running him.
Yeah, Eric's running it. JJ's running it. Yeah,
Todd's running them.
Todd's running it. So I mean, we're gonna see what the longevity of them are. Everybody has talked about it being extremely clear, extremely durable. It being
Shake awake.
it's shake awake, very good dot. So it'll be interesting to see what how it actually plays out. When the more people that actually get it in their hands, the more people that put it on their guns, you're gonna see more. You're gonna get more feedback than you are just from a smaller group. Now, don't get me wrong; it's not like Todd or Eric or any of those guys are any slouches. I mean, they're gonna put those dots through their paces, but until you get those dots out to a ton of people,
Right.
like the control group is still pretty small.
Pretty small.
So it'll be interesting to see how it plays out over the over time.
Do you
So,
any idea how long they've had those to use?
uh,
I think Todd was using his all of last season.
no.
Okay.
It
No, wait,
wasn't.
no. I'm thinking of somebody else. I'm thinking of
No.
somebody else.
Yeah. So from I think from what Eric said, he's had it for a couple of months, but nothing outrageous.
Okay.
Like it hasn't been something that's been like they've been going nutso about for a long time. Now, like obviously these guys, they couldn't post anything about it or show anything about it until SHOT Show.
Yeah.
But they haven't had like a year and a half on it or by any means.
Okay.
No,
Yeah.
I was thinking of Nils' dot. Nils has been
Yeah,
running
Nils-
his dot for like a
Yeah.
year.
Yeah, Nils has been running his, and honestly, that dot's pretty awesome too. That
Yeah.
one's
Yeah,
Yeah,
that
it's
one
gonna be
is
good.
that one I'm actually kind of excited about because it's everything you're looking for in a dot, and the price is right. Between 240 and 250 is what they're talking.
Yep.
6 MOA dot, top loading battery, shake awake on off, 60,000 hours is what they're predicting with the normal CR 2032 battery. And like you guys said, he's been running it since March of last year. So,
Yeah.
and he said it's fallen a few times, not on purpose either. So, without any issues, it held zero, didn't break. So, yeah, it should be interesting. And that price point, I could see people going that way too.
Oh yeah.
That's where I did overhear somebody talking about the price of the Seymour. And if that number is right, then I see them having a hard time selling a lot in the competition field when you have, I mean, the number I heard was more than an SRO. So
Right.
that's
Yeah.
a significant number. If you're above the cost of an SRO, that's that there's not going to be a whole lot of people buying that because most of the shooters aren't spending that much on a dot when they don't have
Right.
to.
Right. Yep.
No, agreed.
Now, was there anything that you were like, oh, I need to try that? Like that is something that you felt other than taking a thermal dot to practical shooting
to the
match.
head.
Was there anything
So-
else that like? Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say it's like we had somewhat of a battle plan coming in, right? So like we're PCSL is new to our area, so we're trying to get
Okay.
more involved with that, some rifle stuff. So there's one particular rifle I really wanted to try out because there's certain criteria that people were telling me I need to kind of go for, right? One of my buddies kind of reached out to like all the top level rifle guys out there, Josh Freilich and Max Leograndis and a couple of those other guys, Joe Farewell and stuff like that. And they were like, yeah, 16-inch gun would be great, and somewhere between like a mid-length or intermediate length or intermediate gas system, blah blah, 1/8 twist. So like, I had certain criteria I was kind of looking for a rifle, and in the past I've always just built guns, but I was like, you know what, I really don't want to have to like piecemeal this thing together because like if I were to do that, like this barrel's like $300 something. It's the only one that I could find, blah blah blah. So there was a company I found off of Palmetto State Armory, Lead Star Arms,
Okay.
and they sell a competition rifle that kind of had almost everything I wanted out of the gun. It had a mid-length GAC system, 16-inch. It had a hyperfire duty trigger in there, semi-skeletonized, lightweight. So I really wanted to get my hands on it. So that was one of the things I made sure I stopped at to kind of get my hands on to feel it, because it's one thing to like see the specs and be like, yeah, this is it, but like it's different to get your hands on it, right? So
Absolutely.
and obviously I would have loved to shoot it before buying one, but I was like, you know what, let me risk a little bit on this thing, and I'm happy I did. I zeroed it the other day, and I shot a few rounds today, and the thing just is amazing. It doesn't move. It's crazy. Just right out of the box.
So did you buy it when you got back from SHOT Show, like after you got to manhandle it?
Actually, we're out to dinner, and I was like, dude, I'm gonna buy
Didn't
this
even
thing.
get that far.
Didn't even get that
Yo.
far.
He's
We
like,
sat down at the hibachi restaurant. I was like, send. So got it right away. So basically, when I got home from SHOT Show, it was kind of waiting for me. So yeah,
goodness
Okay.
gracious.
and Dave sitting there the whole time. I was like, really? Did you just buy that? I was like, dude, this is exactly what I want. So yeah.
Okay.
Put the glass on there, and some would say I'm a little impulsive, but
Some. Oh my gosh.
some.
Goodness gracious.
Oh, some people.
I'm the guy who'll go to the grocery store for a couple things and walk home with a gun. Like it's a brand new
Okay.
rifle.
Nothing wrong with that.
I don't know how it happened. 5 stops later.
I'm gonna get you a financial advisor.
Yeah.
And all the financial advisor is going to be doing is going,
With as much as Fairfax is paying, I mean,
Do you
it
really
matter
need
for a
this?
while.
do you really need this? Do you need this? Yeah. The food that we have at the house would be just fine.
Who needs to eat?
Yeah.
So do you guys see yourself going back next year then?
Oh yeah. I think it'd be
Yeah.
as long as I will say this, yeah, as far as the experience we had with Atlas, and going there and representing Atlas, but at the same time being there with the guys, being there with the company, there is. I could confidently say there's probably not any other real companies I would ever really want to go to SHOT Show with, other than Atlas. I mean, they treat us really, really, really well. We're very fortunate, and I feel like we do a pretty good job as far as representing ourselves and our supporter. So like so I feel like it was very mutually beneficial. But yeah, it was awesome, and like as long as you like. I can't remember who I was telling the other day. If you go there and you're just there to walk around and just to see, like, just to go see the stuff, it was nice to be able to go out for a few hours, see what you want to see, and then come back. And when we come back to the booth, and we switch out with the guys, and we didn't even really have a schedule. It just naturally worked out really, really well. But when we'd come back, when we're at the booth, it was nice. Like, and it was almost like we were taking like a little bit of a break from the rest of the show to to talk about the guns we love. And so it's very fulfilling to be able to do that. Like when we're, bouncing back and forth between seeing what we want to see, between and then presenting the guns that we love and we love to talk about. And I mean, like, we could talk about Atlas Gunworks, material and merchant all day long. And so it's not like it doesn't take much effort, and especially when you're doing it to like-minded people, it's it makes it easy, and it does make it very enjoyable to do. So yeah, I mean, yes, it is some long days, and I don't think they have enough chairs there, and there's not enough water around. But
they put benches there this year, like,
yeah, poor
that was
Tom.
fun.
Poor Tom.
poor Tom Castro.
Couldn't like, apparently the benches almost broke him. That was his I think that was his Achilles heel. Why do they put the benches where you need to go? It was funny talking to him about that. But
Oh wow.
yeah, but no, it was good. I would I think I speak for both of us. We would very much enjoy going back next year and doing the same thing again.
I'll tell you what though, if SHOT Show was a 2-week event, I would only request to be there for half of it.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh yeah.
That week,
that'd be too
that
much.
week is brutal, man. That week is brutal.
Well, it's fast paced. It's a lot of walking. It's a lot of standing. It like Dave was saying earlier. I mean, you're just constantly.
Yeah.
I don't even know how we ran into each other, Kevin. I honestly don't.
I really don't know either. I think I was racing back to the booth for whatever
it was
reason.
fate.
Yeah, fate. Fate.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because there's no way you run into anybody there on purpose. There's too many people,
Nope.
Yeah,
so
for sure.
it's crazy.
Yep.
Exactly.
All right. So in closing, what do you guys have for future plans?
So this year we have a list of majors we're going to be going to. I would say with me doing this now full time, for me I have a number of classes that are not only just in Virginia but nationwide that I'll be kind of going around traveling a little bit to teach classes. I also am open to taking on other classes and stuff like you know during the week and later in the year and whatnot. Schedule is relatively, while it's filling up, it's still open. It'll be interesting to see how 2025 kind of works its way in. I was talking to a couple guys and they said it takes a couple years, like especially when you go full time, for like the
Mm,
business to really kick into like really see
Yeah.
that full booking for the following year. Like it's going to take at least this year of a lot of networking. Like I've already done quite a bit of networking, but like this is the year that you really like kind of solidify it even further. Um, I'll be doing quite a bit of training this year. I don't think I'll be doing quite as many local matches. The locals that I do are going to be on kind of in preparation for the majors that are coming up quick. Yes.
I was thinking that too,
Yeah.
Dave.
So they'll be in
We're all
preparation.
children. We're all children when
Yes.
it comes down to it all.
Surprised your thing didn't put like the poop emoji up.
I know, right?
that would be hilarious.
Yeah. But yeah, no, it'll be interesting. Like, it's going to be very as far as the major matches go, we have a relatively decent amount of major matches on the schedule. Not as many as other people I've seen, but we do have a relatively decent amount of travel to do. So with that being said, it's between that and family and just kind of balancing things out. It'll be a relatively even split between local matches and major matches for me, and then also classes. But at the same time, I need to make sure that you're still giving enough time to the family. So you need to make sure that it's
Yep.
not, it can't be, I don't know how some of these guys do it where it's every single weekend that they're
I
shooting
don't either.
matches. You know what I mean? It's like,
Yeah.
you
Crazy.
got to make sure you have some sort of balance in your life. You know what I mean?
Yep. Agree. Kevin?
So,
No, it's gonna be very similar for me too. Like Dave mentioned early on, like we shoot pretty much every major together. So our major match schedule is identical for the most part. I think there's like one or two that we're flip flop. I'm doing one, he's not doing one, something along those lines. But just really trying to focus in hard for IPSC Nationals. I want to do a good show. Being on the Super Squad and all, like we kind of want to make sure that we represent ourselves well. We want to make sure that we represent Atlas well and stuff like that. So just trying to gear up for Open. I've been shooting a lot of limited optics in the last few months, so and during the off season. So get to pick up Old Faithful again and get used to the weight of my big open gun, and it'll be good. Just trying to get some rounds down range, and very similar to what Dave said. Just trying to balance life and work and everything. I think I told you at SHOT Show, but I got promoted at the fire department. So things there have kind of gotten a little bit more busy. I'm driving one of the fire apparatus now. I'm in charge of training and stuff in my firehouse. So
Are you a master tech now or?
no, I'm just so they got rid of the master tech.
Okay.
bounce,
they did. Okay.
bounce,
So
bouncing
yeah,
pickleballs. It's all
yeah.
good.
So technician rank is all encompassing between
Okay.
master tech and technician. It's the same essentially, but yeah. So it's just doing a bunch of training, working a bunch. Like every other fire department or police department, first responder. Like we are short staffed, so
Yeah.
picking up some overtime is like not even a struggle. It's like you kind of have to work overtime because there's nobody else to work, kind of thing. So
Right.
that's kind of the struggle that I'm kind of stuck in right now. Every first responder is kind of in the same boat in that regard. So, but other than that, just trying to get some good practice in, some meaningful practice when I can. And, like Dave was mentioning, we're going to be teaching a Reg Dot class. I believe that's in March. We might be traveling to Vermont to go teach a class and stuff like that. So we got a couple things on our schedule that's going to keep us very busy this year, but all good things.
So
Yep.
is it the same place someone would go to sign up, whether it's a collaboration or just a David Wampler class, or? Where do people go to sign up for these classes?
So once we do post the classes, we either usually have them on a practice score link. We usually push them out to social media, which is going to be like Instagram, Facebook, and then from there
Okay.
they can more or less. We get a lot of people sending us direct messages. We
Mhm.
don't. One of the vetting processes that we've used and we continuously do is when people opposed to it being just open enrollment, people just going online to a website and signing up. When we actually have someone contact us and actually hit us up on Instagram, be like, "Hey, I want to sign up for your class." Believe it or not, we have a wonderful opportunity to kind of vet them right then and there. And so, because these classes are, or like when we teach these classes, they're not for greenhorns. They're for people that have, that have established, relatively decent safe, gun handling measures. We're not teaching like, your typical, concealed carry class yet that,
This
where
is
you're
a
just,
trigger. This
yeah, this
is
is
a
the trigger,
barrel.
this is the hammer, this is where the bullets go, like type of deal, right? Because of that, when people hit us up on social media or send us texts or or send us like an email or something like that inquiring about the class, we have a way to kind of vet them, and like we have a direct line of communication opposed to literally just going in after the fact and seeing a bunch of people that like literally you just go in like to a website, you see a bunch of people that signed up, paid, and then you just, take roll call when they come to the class at that time, which is, it's one way of doing it, totally fine. But for what we do, it's very nice to be able to vet the people. So yeah, we don't have a like literally through social media. You'll be able to contact us through like direct messaging us. We'll also have our emails, I think, sprinkled throughout there to be able to for them to send emails, and then what we'll do is we'll make things simple. And for my classes, typically, um, unless it's like a private type of class, like sometimes I'll do a class for like a Facebook group or something along those lines. At that point, that's kind of like a little bit more closed door type of thing. Um, but typically, I put stuff up on Practice Score so that people can go sign up, and literally, I have control over the drop down menu and approval and all that jazz. So like you're able to kind of regulate as far as registration goes and all that stuff pretty decent. And most people that are relatively into the sport that we're doing everything through Practice Score makes things pretty familiar for a lot of people. So that'll be one way for
Okay.
them to get in touch.
All right. So I will make sure I include you guys' Instagram
Okay,
then in the show notes so that if somebody listens to this and wants to reach out, they have a way to do it.
absolutely.
Absolutely. Yeah.
All right.
And if
Well,
anybody
when you
wants
said
to host us, for sure, let us know.
Oh yeah,
We'll
absolutely.
come out and travel. We'll
okay,
travel.
you said greenhorns, and I'm like, what is this? An episode of Grizzly Adams? It's like I'm back in 1980. I
There
like
we
it.
go.
All right. So the final question is, all right. So you guys have been to St. George, Frostproof, CMP, and Cardinal for nationals.
Cardinal.
I haven't been to Cardinal. That's the one in
Ohio. Oh, so you
Ohio.
guys
No, I
haven't been to Ohio.
Haven't been to
No.
All
Ohio.
right. So take that out. So St. George, Frostproof, CMP. Which one?
St. George.
If they.
St. George.
Okay.
I don't know
All
what
right,
other
then.
question you're going to ask, but I know for a fact St.
That-
George was beautiful, and St. George was awesome weather, and they have, what is it, Whataburger?
No.
Oh, yeah.
In and out.
In and out, in and out, in and out.
Yeah, in and out.
Yep,
There
done,
you go.
done.
Okay.
I don't know what
That
question
was
you were
the
going to
question,
ask, but
actually.
that's the answer.
I was going to say if the USPSA called you up today, where would you tell them to hold nationals? You answered the question, and you justified it. I like it.
Yeah. I think the infrastructure around that area is just nice.
It's not Cameo.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But I will say no. I think the infrastructure around St. George was awesome. I know they had to make range adjustments based on developing subdivisions around the area, so they had to make slight corrections and stuff along those lines, which would make it in like kind of hard to host more nationals. I don't know. The sun coming over the top of the berm would be a constant thing for a lot of people, especially if they had to bring nationals back to St. George. Now it is nice. It's not terribly hard to get to. I mean, flying into Vegas and then driving out to St. George was about 2 hours.
Mhm.
So like
I mean,
flights
we
and
slept
everything.
the whole way.
Oh, it was awesome. It was fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah, Wonger was our
Yeah, Eric Water was our chaperone. He drove
Yeah,
us everywhere.
Your dedicated driver.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. So,
Okay.
but yeah,
Yeah.
no. I think
Well,
there are
I've
other ranges out there that are probably pretty good too. So,
I've heard they've made those adjustments and they're looking to try to hold nationals again. So your
that would
dream
be
might
awesome.
come true.
That would be awesome.
Heck yeah, I love that place. That
Yep.
place is awesome. Minus the
Oh my
constant
gosh.
like
The
Looney
rounds are
Tunes
insane.
bullet flying everywhere. Like that's a little precarious. However, the area is beautiful.
I felt like we're in Saving Private Ryan. Like I swear the entire time.
I felt like freaking.
And you guys want to go back there and shoot?
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. The shoot house
Okay.
there was awesome.
Yeah.
You remember the shoot house there? The shoot house is awesome. Like yeah, they just have a lot of great things at that range.
Yep.
Okay. All right. Anything else you guys want to add before we call this a night?
I think we covered all the bases.
Yeah.
I think so.
Yes, sir.
All right. Well, gentlemen, I appreciate you coming on. Thank you so much.
I appreciate you having us.
All right. Thanks, Dave.
Until next time.
Don't be a little bitch. Yeah.